Hello, and thank you for tuning in to the very first episode of What's Your Workplace? Today we have with us John Bone from Allegheny College of Maryland, who's here to tell us about his career and how it has advanced since his time at community college. Thank you, John, for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Where did you attend college and what was your major?
I attended Allegheny College of Maryland right out of high school. I began in computer science. About halfway through, I realized it wasn't for me in that field. And actually, at that time, my church began television ministry. And I was able to pick up that equipment quickly, and I changed my major to communication media at that time. And graduated with the Associate of Applied Science degree in communication media, and as well as a certificate in computer science.
Did you have a job while attending college?
Yes, I had a job towards the end of high school, working at a local motel, taking care of the swimming pool and fitness center, and then was promoted to the front desk and team leader there, as well as night audits. So I did work through college 4 years while I was attending college.
I know you explained a little bit before about choosing your major, but what really sparked your interest in your major?
In the early 90s, my sister actually had gotten married, and I took pictures at the wedding. It was a simple wedding, simple camera I was using. So I was able to pick up that. And then throughout high school, I became part of the stage crew at high school with anything going on on the stage there. I was a part of, and also taking pictures. Actually, the library had a loaner SLR camera, a single lens reflex camera, and I was able to practice and play around with shooting pictures with that. So it kind of evolved, and I was always interested in media and how things worked. So that kind of steered me in the correct direction. And then in the early days, as you know, a teenager in my church, I was manning the soundboard and working with the electronics there. So it kind of just evolved and progressed.
Were you able to find employment in your career field after graduation?
I was able to find a job several months. I can't remember exactly how many months after graduation. I was able to find a career in the field in communication media. And actually, it was for a local photo lab that processed work from photographers all over the East Coast. They would send their film in to be processed and prints. So I was able to find a job in my field. I was working in a dark room, a black and white dark room primarily. That was my main position, where everything had to be printed by hand on an easel and put through the processor. But then it evolved a little bit into printing color. So I filled in for the color printer, and back then anything larger than an 11 by 14 had to be printed by hand on the enlarger and processed like that. So, my skills grew at that time, being able to burn and dodge in the darkroom, as well as process film. Also, while there, I processed E6 slides, so color slides, as well as I was helping the studio. They had a studio attached, and I would help them go out and take pictures of ball teams, soccer, football, baseball teams. So, I was, kind of a part-time photographer at that time as well. From that, I noticed an ad in the paper it was around October, November, for a photographer for a local newspaper here in Cumberland. And I applied, and the interview went really well. I took a portfolio with me, which is important when you go on an interview for that type of work, whether it's graphic designer or photographer. They want to see what you can do. So it's important to take a portfolio, and I was pretty much hired on the spot at that time. They saw what I could do. But until that time, I was primarily working with film, whether it be 35 millimeter or medium format when I was working for the photo studio. So I was extremely limited on my digital photography skills at that time. And as the newspaper industry, something has to, turnaround has to be very quick. So it had to be digital. So I was able to migrate to digital photography, from doing film for years.
During your time at the newspaper, what were some things you got to do or some exciting events that you might have?
The newspaper was a very fun job, I have to admit. Being a news photographer, it was something different every day. Now, you had the events, whether it be a parade every year or some type of event every year, a big football game every year. So you had to think of the ways to creatively, find different angles. Or, I would be driving to the event and I'm thinking to myself, what am I going to do different this year? But, whether it be going to take pictures of the president or getting to fly in the Maryland State Police medevac helicopter or those type of things, it was something different every day. And then you had the tragedies where there was accidents or fires, even fatalities, which was a little bit challenging. But, I think the good outweighed the bad in that position. And it allowed me to be very creative. Just a simple picture. I found ways to find different angles to take the pictures and be able to show things differently than people would normally see them.
What sparked your interest in education?
While I was at the newspaper, it seemed that I had a knack to teach. And the supervisors at the newspaper saw that I was willing to do that. And from time to time, we would have interns, whether it be from the local career center or the two colleges, Allegheny College of Maryland or Frostburg State University. We would have interns come through for a semester or several weeks, whatever the students needed. And it seemed like they would always be put in me, or under my direction. So they would ride around with me and I would help them. I would actually teach them, take the time to show them what I was doing. And when I had an intern, I hardly had any paper or pictures in the newspaper because I wanted to have the intern take the pictures, have their name under the picture and get that. So that kind of sparked my interest towards education, to be able to help people, show people what to do, take the time as they're learning the process, whether it be in photography or writing cut lines, anything like that. So it became apparent to me I was good at explaining things, teaching.
So what was your first position at the college?
In 2005, I began teaching digital photography for the college. So I was teaching one class, a lecture and lab, and I was very green to start out with in teaching. I don't remember some of the student surveys, but I'm sure they were horrible. So as I was progressing, I taught 2005, 2 semesters, the spring and fall, 2006, spring and fall, and then from then on I was doing spring because they had to eliminate a section from a different campus. And then I got a part-time job as photographer at the college. So I was still working at the newspaper full-time and doing part-time photographer work at the college. And things evolved from there.
Was there a stepping stone between that job and the position that you're in now?
With the photographer, at one budget cycle, they were able to roll in video work. They saw the need to produce education material and public relations material in-house. They could save funds and not have to worry about copyright if they just create videos on their own. So they did wrap that into the photographer work because I had experience in both and did well. And so I was able to get a full-time job at that time. So I actually worked for the newspaper another year part-time and the college full-time. So the roles kind of switch. And then my supervisor retired the following year, and I was promoted to that position to be in charge of the media on campus. And that includes projectors and microphones and speakers. That was all my responsibility. And that's the 5 different campuses or 5 different locations that Allegheny College of Maryland has, as well as I was the, manager or supervisor for the distance learning rooms where the campuses are connected via video conferencing.
So what is the position that you're in now?
I actually got, well, I don't want to say a promotion, but I applied for a position as a full-time faculty. So I'm now full-time faculty and teaching just in the Communication Arts Technology program, which will be renamed next year to Multimedia Technology, which better explains what is taught in the program. And there's 4 major areas that are covered in that program. We teach photography, video, audio, and graphic design. So a student coming out with that degree will be able to seek employment in different areas. And the lines nowadays are being blurred. If you're in radio, it's not just radio. You're into graphic design, designing things, putting it on websites, even videos or photography on websites of radio stations. So it wraps around. If you're a photographer for the newspaper, now they're doing video at newspapers. So, it's really multimedia. It's not just one media anymore.
Technology has changed so much over the last 20 years. Where do you expect it to go from here?
Well, as I said, evolving. The media has become multimedia now, and there's so many different avenues where, in the future we may not have television as we know it now. Everything will be streamed through the internet, things like that. So as technology advances, we don't know what's around the corner, but in my position as an educator, we have to keep up to be able to know the technology that is coming out and how students can be taught and use that technology to its fullest.
Well, that's all the time that we have today. So thank you so much, John, for being here with us.
Thank you again.
It was great to have you. And be sure to tune in to the next episode of What's Your Workplace?